It's visible, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
So, very short recap. Stats wants to predict something about an event. That event can comprise of many agents which participate. If we are going to use statistical methods to predict stock market analysis, then the agents are what? Agents are all the company values, right? Valuation, the stock prices, that is the agent. If you are going to do something with the, let's say, election results, census and stuff, then we are talking about people. So either way, population is the major universal set, and stats wants to help you develop a model using which you'll be able to predict something, predict, estimate. More than predict, I would use the word estimate something. But we cannot build this model on the population because we don't know what is the population size always. In the sense, meaning what? Meaning, if you want to actually predict coronavirus or estimate the effect of coronavirus, you would want that estimate to hold true for the entire population, but we don't know how many people are actually affected, because that's exactly what we want to estimate, how many actually could be affected, right? So what we do is we sort of get whatever data we have and then take a sample, and we use all our stats techniques and methods on this sample. Once whatever hypothesis or our guess, I'm not even going to write hypothesis, simply too much confusing words. We guess something about the sample, and then we want to be able to sure, we have to be sure, at least in a probably at least 90% or 95% sure, that whatever guess we are making about the sample will be true about the population also. Okay, so this is the whole idea of population and sample. And there are many types of sampling. Okay, sampling is very types of sampling. See, sampling is what's taking people out of the population. You're taking a set out. Now, how the way in which you're going to select? Are you going to first divide them into different demographies, and let's say you will divide these people are sort of different. You divide this and you divide this, and then you say, I'm going to take separately random from all this and then make one sample. Like, there are different techniques of sampling. We'll come to that later. But the idea of sampling is taking people out. But how differently can you take people out so that you are really random? It's very important because ideally, what happens in statistics is you want to be able to model. When we say modeling, we want to be able to correctly model the variance. If we are only going to take, let's say we have some people from 1 to 20,000, okay, 1 dot 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 2 dot dot, right, 1000, 20,000 elements are there. If you just say, hey, I will just take a sample of 20,000, let's say I will take 4,000 as my sample. If you take 1 to 4,000, you might be doing a big mistake, because something may be different about this first 4,000. Means some data value over there, the variance of this 4,000 could be different, variance of the next 4,000 could be different. So you want to be able to take randomly. Okay, so that you sort of do justice to that variance. And what is the variance? Variance is the actual information in that distribution. Whatever you want to study, stock market, coronavirus, estimate, anything, information is packed in those numbers, and difference between those numbers is where the whole logic is. And the difference and the mean difference, the central tendencies, all of it put together is captured by variance and standard deviation, correct? So if you take randomly, you're actually taking a lot of variance in. So it means that if you take randomly, your guess is more, you have a better chance of getting that guess right for the sample and for the population. Making sense? Am I making sense? We
Yes,
are
sir.
not in school, right? It's like we in school, because today when I met my boss also, he was telling me, in school when you're taught 2 into 1 is 2 and 2 into 4 is 4, in the at that level you want the student to just accept it, okay? But at this level you're expected to challenge it. So that's why I ask it, is it making sense? Because you should think. So I don't mind waiting for 5 minutes if you want to think, because the whole idea is this thing is not about getting in a hurry to the end goal, but getting there in style, right? So the whole idea is that. So I'm going to just pause for 5 minutes, think about it, and let me know whether it is making sense, and then ask me some doubts. After this, I'll move to the next slide. Audible? Am I audible? Have I lost?
Yes, sir.
I did. It makes sense, right?
Very good.
But anyway, think about it. The recording will be shared. Watch it again. If you have doubt, then shoot the questions. No problem. In any channel you like, mail me or WhatsApp me. That's cool. So this is the whole picture again. Population, take sample, create an inference, apply it on population. That's it. Okay. Now we did this the other day. We explained the whole thing. There is no longer a surprising thing for you. So it's already done. Now we come to the idea of what central limit theorem is. Central limit theorem is the most important concept in statistics, most interesting, and it is like a test bench. Somebody needs to mute themselves. Lakshmikant, could you mute? Because there is some voice, background voice that is coming.
Actually, my page is not responding. I am trying to unmute.
Acha, acha. No problem. I'll try
Uh,
that. Try.
I don't know whether it is on also. Yeah,
You're watching it on a mobile phone.
yeah. I'm no laptop only,
Okay.
but the page is not responding. Uh,
Okay. I did that.
can you mute me? Can
Yeah.
you mute me? It is possible to mute. No?
Yeah, I did
I'm
that.
able to hear your voice. Yeah.
Okay. I'm also not able to mute you. No problem. It's okay. All right. So, what is central limit theorem? Or did he leave? So, who will tell me what is central limit theorem? Vinay and Rashmi ma'am, I opened the thing for you. Can anyone tell me? Yesterday we did it. I have the blank screen here. So, give me your inputs on it. What is central limit theorem?
It's actually based on the density. What is it?
If you were the teacher and we were the students, how would you explain central limit theorem? Vinay, you want to give it a try?
Maybe it's it's in between population with the mean and the standard deviation. It will take the sufficiently large random samples from the population with.
I'll tell you something. Central limit theorem, even if you Google and check on Wikipedia, it takes a lot of time to understand and appreciate it. So you've taken a sufficiently large sample. Then what? I have a population. Okay, I'll try. I'll
We,
start drawing the thing. I have a population.
we take a mean and standard deviation through the sample you have provided.
Central limit theorem is an observation, which is true for all. So it is something. It's a phenomenon. It's a beautiful thing. Very interesting thing. It is sort of hitting the central limit. We are tending towards some central limit. What is that central limit? Think like this.
Mean.
What mean?
The
Yeah, can it? Let me try. I'm guessing the central limit is where the sample is large enough that it's able to apply to the whole population, but small enough to test on. Is that the central
No.
limit?
Oh no. You weren't there yesterday. You weren't there yesterday, right?
No, we are.
Yeah. No, I was asking only Rashmi ma'am and Vinay because yesterday I've already done it. So I wanted them to sort of recap on it, so that when they recap, they'll also get refreshed, and you guys also will start thinking. But good try, Hanuma. Okay, your first name is Hanuma only, right? Hanuma Vihari is
No,
Vihari.
Vihari. Oh, sorry, that Hanuma Vihari is the cricketer, right? Okay, I got confused. All right, I'm sorry. Vihari, yes. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's say I've driven, I've sort of depicted all these points over here, and to do our, we were doing what? We were trying to build a statistical model. So what we do, we take samples. So we take a sample out, a small sample. Now this entire distribution, whatever is there, let's say the probability distribution function of this, maybe it looks like this. So maybe this is all the salaries of all the people. Okay, maybe around 50,000 people's salary, just randomly picked up from the population, and we make that as the population. 50,000 people's salaries has been distributed here. Cool. And this is wrong actually, because if I am going to draw it like this, it will be sort of denser here and sparser on the boundaries. But anyway, because I this is just randomly picked up answer question, so I'm just trying. What does it mean when I say this is the PDF of it, the probability density function of it? It means that this is where the entire population is. All your 50,000 people are here. So this can be the actual salary. This is actually the population, and this is the salary. This is the salary. Okay, this is how salary is increasing. Maybe you start off with 10K and move to sort of 1 million or something. Okay, and this says that very few people, what does it say? Very few people enjoy that high amount of salary. That's what it says. So this is the distribution. So a large population come under this bracket of the average salary. Okay, So this is what it's saying, that many people who are here enjoy. Most of the people are enjoying this average salary. But the thing what I'm now trying to say is, if you start taking samples out of this, you take a first sample and you find its sample 1, you find its mean. Okay, this is symbol for mean, x bar. If I take name the sample as x1, so x bar 1 is our sample mean. Now after that, I put this back. I put this sample back into it. Again, I take another sample, which I will call x2. I take a mean of it. I do this, let's say 10 times. X1, x2, put it back, take it again. I do it for 10 times right now. So then when I start plotting the means of this, x1, x2 bar, x3 bar, whatever the mean that I've got, it will start looking something like this. The more samples I start taking, this 10, maybe it becomes 100, I'll get smoother and smoother curve. So it is hitting that central limit where it says that if you take sufficiently large sample from the population, the sample means of all the samples with replacement, it is very important, replacement, because you are simply not taking, let's say we are not taking 50,000 people, we are not simply taking 5,000 and not putting it back, then this theorem won't hold good. We have to take a sample and put it back, again randomly choose another sample, put it back, randomly choose another sample, and keep doing it. When you are in, just have 10 of these experiments, you will start looking at these kind of bars. Okay, but as you increase the same experiment again and again, you'll start looking at this event where the distribution of the sample means themselves is moving towards a normal distribution. Normal distribution is this curve, but this wasn't a normal distribution, this was an exponential distribution. See this? Your data actually is portraying an exponential distribution, but by taking this sample means, it is hitting this central limit. Take any distribution. It can be Bernoulli, it can be this particular one, or even very skewed normal distribution. We'll come to that. We'll do that skewed normal distribution today. A skewed right skew, left skew, or kurtosis to be very high. Some data which is like this, right? Even with these kind of data sets, when you keep repeating this experiment, you will start hitting this. Now, I hope you're understanding. This is the theory behind central limit theorem. After understanding this, when you if you go back to the definition of what central limit theorem is on any channel, any platform, then it will start making sense to you. But as an exercise, I want you guys to think about it. Why is it like this? What happened here? Something we take randomly. Why? Because what is this? Mean. Mean is actually representing one entire section's average drift. Another section's average drift. So how come when you start putting all these averages out here, how come it is showing a normal distribution, but when the real distribution is exponential? We can test it. Once we finish pandas, once we finish Matplotlib describing our data and everything, we will actually write an independent code experimenting this particular thing. We'll bring some income inequality distribution. This is income inequality curve, inequality of the income. Not everybody is going to have the same income. If everybody had the same income, it would look like, the distribution would look like this. This is called uniform distribution, uniformly distributed. This is normal distribution. This is what is observed in nature. This is an exponential distribution, right? This is an exponential curve. So every phenomena is represented by these kind of descriptions. That's why it is descriptive statistics. After this, we are going to sort of give our theories, why, and stuff. That's when inferential statistics comes in, right? So there are two different disciplines, and this is the whole idea of hitting that central limit, and this is the central limit. It is hitting that limit. No matter how many samples you keep taking, this curve is going to get more and more finer and tends towards a normal distribution. This is what is observed in everything. That's why I said, if there is any physics like beauty in statistics, the first one would be central limit theorem. Like physics like beauty means what? Force is equal to mass into acceleration always, right? So how did it happen? And space is curved, and the theory of relativity. All these are beautiful phenomena, which is very true in nature, right? So that even with statistics, this is also very true, and this is so important that using this we are going to get our inferences right. You can see we have described the data. We described the data here, but once we start using central limit theorem, you are now entering the realm of inferring something. Only description is not going to help. You have to be able to infer, right? So that is what central limit theorem is as a first step for you guys to infer something. Okay. So anyway, this recording will be there. You can watch it again, and if there is any doubt, you can let me know. If there is any doubt right now, let me know so that I can.
Context.
Vinay, it's clear now. It's from better than yesterday.
Yes, Vijay.
Rashmi ma'am,
Yes, sir.
clear,
Today,
no? Clear.
clearly, yeah. Yesterday we explained by taking an example of rich people, middle class, higher middle class, poverty, like that.
Yeah.
I got remembered.
I have a group of interns. Okay, I have a group of interns who have come to me only for this one. Just one project. Okay, from college they have been deployed here. Who will help me? Who will take this central limit theorem class for them? Who will take up that? Now that you have understood, who wants? Because I can also teach, but when I give you guys the platform, you will go, you will find your own examples, you will do that. Who wants to take up this? Anyone who can take up this challenge?
So we can take that, but the some percent of statistics we got to know, but not clearly,
Okay.
not at least for 60-70% we have to study.
Great. Okay. Maybe there will be a time in future where I'll take that from you.
Yeah,
Okay.
same.
All right. Fine. So this is the whole picture of central limit theorem. Whatever I draw, whatever I drew, a population. See this PDF looks like this. This probability density function is looking like this for a different phenomena. Randomly. This some pictures don't have the entire information. You have to have replacement. Okay. If without replacing, it doesn't make sense. You have to take random, put it back, take random, put it back, then it makes sense. So everything has its own mean here, and then when you take the plot the mean, you will get the distribution of the sample mean. The distribution of the sample mean over a sufficiently large sample taken with replacement is going to hit that normal distribution, and that's your central limit theorem. Okay.